What is going on, everybody? So welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. So today, I'm going to give you guys my perspective on the Atlanta Braves 2024 off-season plans. Now, before we get started in today's video, if you guys are new, make sure to hit that like button. Also, hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure to ring that notification bell so you guys will not miss new videos or live streams. And with that being said, let's jump right into the video. What is going on, everybody? So, obviously, with the Braves falling short again for the second straight year to the Phillies in the National League Division Series. And now we're going into the Braves off season. Now, I'm going to kind of give you my plans of what the Braves can do to get back and actually become a and win a World Series again. And disclaimer, yeah, this is going to be an outside perspective as as a division rival, so bear that in mind. But going into this, in terms of the plans for the 2024 off season for the Atlanta Braves, obviously in particular is to not pick up decline Charlie Morton's $20 million club option. And the reason why I say that, because Charlie Morton is just one of those guys. No, in terms of veteran leadership, yeah, very solid guy in terms of veteran leadership in the rotation. But from the long term, if you look at from the long term future aspect of this organization, I would say I think he's done enough that the Braves could actually find a replacement for him. Yeah, Morton, and I will say this too, going into his age 40 season in 2024, it remains to be seen because he's the kind of guy that always has a bit of an injury history. And yes, he's been a solid number three in the rotation. But ever since he had some of these injury problems, we're seeing young guys like Bryce Elder or Smith Shawver take his place, and they show flashes of how good they can be, and that's no harm to Morton. But if I'm Alex Anthopoulos, I would see that Charlie Morton, either one, he decides to retire, or you could just, because obviously the reason why he went to Atlanta, because obviously he has still a home in Florida, which obviously where the Braves have their spring training complex in Kissimmee or something like that. But yeah, Charlie Moore isn't, like, from the long term aspect of it, I think he's not the kind of guy to keep long term, because I mean, like I said, he is entering his age 40 season, and that's not so concerning. But if the injuries if he gets hurt again, it's at some point, you're gonna have to ask yourself, like, did we really want to keep a guy around who's already done so much with the franchise? But moving to the bullpen aspect for the Atlanta Braves. Now, the Braves bullpen this past season was actually really good. It was really solid with Raisel in the back end, guys like Pierce Johnson, Kirby Yates, AJ Minter, who's been solid and at times can be shaky. But they got some really nice arms in the back in that bullpen. And Joe Jimenez, I think he's going to end as well, who, like I said, was a little bit shaky, but has shown to be a very solid, I'd say, middleman, sometimes setup guy, depending on if it's the seventh, eighth. If it's a blowout, probably the ninth, if that's the case. But there's three names in particular. I want to see the potential. I see the Braves could see re-signing. Pierce Johnson in particular is to start things off. Pierce Johnson, yes, when you really look at his overall numbers since coming from Colorado, yes, and for those who know, that Colorado is a pitcher's nightmare waiting to happen. But since getting traded to Atlanta, he has an ERA in a very short sample size with under 1. I think it was at 0.75 in this very short sample size with Atlanta. I think Pierce Johnson is one of those guys I think could be a solid six inning guy, maybe seventh, maybe an eighth, and then set him up for Raisel in the back end as well. Joe Jimenez, I think he's going to stay. I think if I'm Alex Anthopoulos, I think would keep him around for the next couple of years or so. I mean, he's still, was it like 28, 29? So someone's got to let me know in the comment section down below if you're a Braves fan. Let me know. But I think Joe Jimenez, I think you can give him a multi-year extension. I think he had a really solid, decent season. I'm not going to say solid, because there are times where he has, really looked very rocky. But I do think he stays on a multi-year extension. Kirby Yates has been in a weird, and not saying a weird spot, but an interesting spot for that matter. Kirby Yates is one of those guys who's been, he's been around the league a long time, but he's been a very reliable arm out of the teams that he's played for. I do think he's going to get at least a multi-year extension and stay with Atlanta to at least solidify that setup spot, I guess you could say, with, A.J. Minter, sometimes Smith Shawver, is that's the case. If we're going to move him to the bullpen, and rest of those guys in there, and keep your core bullpen guys together. So overall, I would like to see, if I'm Alex Anthopoulos, I will find a way to resign Pierce Johnson, Joe Jimenez, and Kirby Yates. But now I'll go to the starting pitching aspect. Now, the starting pitching for Atlanta has been, how do I explain this? It wasn't great, but it has been kind of in the middle of a pack, I guess you could say, with Max Fried, yes, 14, had a short sample size, or started half what you would see in a full regular season. But Max Fried, and I think right now, coming up in his arbitration year, right now at currently of what, according to some people I've seen, that his value could be ranging between 13 to 14 million, depending on what he's asking or what his camp's asking for in terms of his arbitration hearing. But the way I would see it, if you're going to keep your ace of the rotation, is extending him. I mean, he's going to be a free agent in the 2025 season, and that's something that Alex Anthopoulos, I think, should at least keep in mind. But if Anthopoulos has a different idea in place, I wouldn't be surprised if Max Fried walks after the 2025 season. And that would be surprising to see for a guy like Max Fried. Yes, has been of an injury history since he's been in the league since 2017. Multi-time Gold Glover. I mean, the dude has done it all with Atlanta, and you can't tell me otherwise that he doesn't deserve to stay with the Atlanta Braves. Now we're going to move on to another guy, and that's in the bullpen. Colin McHugh. Now, Colin McHugh is in a weird spot to the point where he's somewhat injury prone. Like, it's kind of hard to describe Colin McHugh at times because he's kind of in like these weird spots, depending on when you really look at his career, his entire career. But with Colin McHugh, who actually unfortunately got dealt with an injury, and obviously he had missed many times since his entire MLB career. I think the best case scenario is to decline his club option, because I do feel like Atlanta's going to find a way to upgrade his spot in the bullpen. And at times he has been okay, I guess you could say, as a starter at times when they really needed him to start. But overall, it's just Colin McHugh for me has not really been that impressive since during his time with Atlanta, because there are times I've seen from a rival standpoint where he just gets lit up. It's just he doesn't really have the stuff to really wow you, I guess you could say. But I think McHugh is going to have to move on, or Atlanta should decline his club option. We're now going to some other guys in particular. Two of them are starters, and obviously for obvious reasons. Mike Soroka and Kyle Wright. Mike Soroka, has shown flashes of brilliance, but the problem is he just at times hasn't been in injury history. Right now, the major one he's kind of really suffered was an Achilles injury, and ever since he's tried to recover from that, he hasn't really been the same, which stinks to say. But I think Mike Soroka, I think the Braves has to move on from him. Same with Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright he's another guy that's has a bit of an injury history, a little bit. But I do think Kyle Wright is not going to be a Brave for much longer, or unless, Alex Anthopoulos will find a way to, he'll be dumb enough to actually put Soroka and Wright in a trade package, because knowing how much of an injury history that they have. But then again, that's a risk some teams are going to willing to have to take on, and I won't be surprised about that. Another guy that's the Braves should definitely move on is Kevin Pillar, because let's be real, the dude's freaking terrible offensively. Not because you've seen from the postseason, but if you look at his baseball reference, this dude, I guess you could say, he is the kind of the guy that does somehow hover just barely over the Mendoza line. And for those who know what the Mendoza line is, when you're hovering over the 200 batting average, easy. But Kevin Pillar, always really known is just for his defense. And at times, he's been kind of a liability, I guess you could say, offensively and this Braves offense at times when he ever does get the start. Because boy, this dude, I'm sorry, but Kevin Pillar has not been what he once was, and you could see it. But then again, if you're any Braves fans, you could probably correct me in the comment sections down below. And I think another guy I could potentially see Atlanta moving on, Orlando Arcia. Now, Arcia, you look from his time in the major leagues, has not really known to be like, I mean, yes, he's an everyday guy, but not to the point where as like, because we originally thought that Vaughn Grissom was going to be the starting shortstop, but obviously was beat out by Arcia. But Arcia in its entirety, yes, great, good glove, but but a kind of a shaky bat, I guess at times. Because the reason why I say that is it's Arcia just has this tendency to just at times be a liability offensively. I'm not just saying he's not a bad player, but his at times, yes, he did had a 265 batting average. So, somebody let me know. Probably I'm pretty much guessing wrong. But overall, Arcia is just kind of the guys that I don't think the Braves. I think the Braves are going to find a way to find a better upgrade over Short. Or unless they will find a way to put Vaughn Grissom in a trade package to get another shortstop. But that remains to be seen with Arcia. But right now, the three guys I can see that the Braves are moving on is from Mike Soroka, definitely Kyle Wright in terms of the starting rotation, and definitely Kevin Pillar. Because, like I said, Kevin Pillar, I do think the Braves are going to find a way to get some better bench pieces to replace Kevin Pillar. Because let's be real, Kevin Pillar just stinks. Now we get the last guy on those, in particular. It's their backup catcher, Travis d'Arnaud. And yes, before making that trade for Sean Murphy, Travis d'Arnaud was that guy, an everyday guy. Yes, he's at 35, has done very good work since being an Atlanta Brave. A World Series ring in 2021. Has done phenomenally okay with the Braves in terms of the postseason, by the way. But in terms of the regular season, behind the plate with the bat, solid all around. And obviously he does have a club option with $8 million, which if I'm Anthopoulos, I would pick that up. Because I do think d'Arnaud, when you really look at the catching core for the Atlanta Braves with Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud, you got two solid catchers, I would say, in my honest opinion, on that roster. So I would say Alex Anthopoulos will definitely pick that up. To at least keep him around. Like I would say, if you're going to ask me to put like a time frame on, probably 2 to 3 years max before you see the end of his prime years. But I think the last and final thing I want to kind of talk about, which is not on my list, is the fact that the Braves need to change their philosophy of what Brian Snitker is kind of teaching these guys. And I'm not really saying that Snitker is a bad manager in any shape, way, or form, so don't take that out of context. What I'm saying is the fact that at times these guys, some of this Braves, how good they are offensively and defensively, at times they get a little bit complacent. Now you're probably wondering, what do you mean by that? Well, obviously, for those who know that when the Braves clinched the division this year, they just took the foot off the gas, and I've seen Braves fans pretty much saying, "Oh, or pretty much saying, Snitker is following that Bobby Cox type of philosophy of getting complacent, and at times, and that's what holds his team back in the postseason. I think they're 1-9 in elimination games, but overall was it 12-23 in elimination games? Like I said, some of them in the comment sections down below. But under Brian Snitker, they have not really, besides that 2021 season, which was actually an incredible run for a team that never cracked 90 wins. But seeing this team last couple of years, won over 100 plus games, different arguments can be made with this team, especially in the postseason. That was that way. But with that all being said, what do you guys think about my plans? But if you guys have your own plans, let me know in the comment sections down below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.